Hey there, this is the Shallow Ranger, and I want to make a response video to JPM and Carl's latest video. Hey JPM and Carl, watched your video, I really liked it, but again, I disagree with you about some of the things said about TNA, and not as many since you didn't go through that many points, so I'm just gonna throw out a few quick ones. First thing, I have a question about Ring of Honor and to the Ring of Honor fans. You know, Ring of Honor started the same year as TNA. And my question is, if Ring of Honor is so good, then why haven't they grown as big as TNA has? Now, they're going to say, oh, well, TNA had a financial backer, but how come no one's become a financial backer in Ring of Honor? I mean, TNA was good enough product that somebody was willing to invest in it, even though, yeah, it was a friend of Jeff Jarrett's. So, how come that hasn't happened with Ring of Honor? You know, people said this past week's pay-per-view was their most bought pay-per-view ever. But the fact is, they're only on pay-per-view because their regular pay-per-views got so few buys that they weren't able to keep a pay-per-view deal. I mean, and how many buys was it actually for this pay-per-view that was their most watched show ever? I mean, I read a report. The report I read said that it was less than 2,000 buys. What is so great about that? And you mentioned talking about Samoa Joe going back to ROH, but why would Samoa Joe go back to Ring of Honor? It's more work for less money. What logical reason is there for Joe to go back to Ring of Honor unless Ring of Honor is going to pay him as much or more as TNA does? You forget that TNA provides international exposure for Joe. I don't know how much Joe making, but I would bet, I pretty much bet my soul that TNA pays him more than Ring of Honor would pay him. Plus, he has more exposure in TNA, so he's probably able to sell more merchandise and make some more royalties off of that. You mentioned something about the booking in TNA not making sense. I hear a lot of people see this, but I just don't see it. They have multiple storylines up and down the card. Everybody on the show has a reason for being there, save for Eric Young. Yet your feuds have clear-cut faces, clear-cut heels, and a simple story as to why they're fighting. I don't see what's complicated about any of the storylines. Throw some out there, and I'll see if I can tackle them for you. As far as the people disappearing off TNA television, people disappear because they have to. TNA has a large roster, and Impact is only 2 hours. Explosion isn't aired in the United States, so there's only so much they can do with that as far as building up characters and pay-per-views. Until they're able to bring Explosion to the US, they can't really do much storyline development on that show. Excuse me. Excuse me. What was I saying? Yeah, so you got 2 hours of Impact, and you have Reaction as the recap and sort of progress the storyline parts of it. You know, TNA right now has about more than 10 different storylines and feuds going on just in the 2 hours of Impact. They cram as many people into the show as they can, and there just isn't enough time for everybody to be on every week. That's why people constantly complain about not seeing some of their favorites for a long time. It's really just a matter of timing. And it comes to differences of opinion, because for each person you take out of the show and replace with someone else, you're gonna piss someone else off. Because everybody on that show is liked by some people. Everybody has their fan base. So each time you take somebody off the show, you're gonna piss off that person's fan base. I mean, we could all sit here and say if I put it out in a video, who would you take off TV and TNA? If I ask everybody to name 10 people, I guarantee you at least 3 of the people you name would piss off somebody else. Somebody else will call you stupid for taking at least 3 of those people off TV. It's because everyone has a fan base. Myself, for example, I don't give a crap about any of the old ECW guys. I'd fire every one of them if I was in charge. 3D would be gone, Rob Van Dam would be gone, Stevie Richards would be gone, Tommy Dreamer would be gone. I was happy to see Sabu go. I was a little disappointed to see Raven go because I do really like Raven, but in the grand scheme of things, there's really not a place for him. All the old ECW guys be gone. I'd fire Taz off of commentary, bring Don West back, but those are just dudes I would get rid of. And I guarantee you, if you put that list to people, some people will read that list, and a significant number of people would read the list of people that I would get rid of and be upset and call me stupid for getting rid of some of them. I know there's people who was calling me dumb for getting rid of Rob Van Dam and we pissed if he gone, but I see no use for Rob Van Dam at all. Excuse the coughing, I'm a little sick right now. Every time you put somebody else in, you have to take someone else out, and you piss off that person's fan base. Again, while I see no use for any of the old ECW guys, a lot of people really like DCW. For the life of me, I can't figure out why. And they like seeing those dudes back. As much as I hate admitting that Hardcore Justice got a higher pay-per-view buy than TNA's other pay-per-views. So TNA kept the guys around. Why wouldn't they? But I'd get rid of them. And every person who fired, somebody would complain that they got fired. You know what? I don't like that Hamada and Taylor Wilde got fired. Taylor Wilde was my favorite knockout. I think she should have got another run with the Knockouts title. I had already booked a 7-month title run for her to do, and I thought my 7-month title run I booked for her was good. I even sent it to her, and she read it and thought it was good too. But that's just my opinion. I've heard other people who say that Taylor Wilde sucks. I want to punch them in the face for saying that, but they are entitled to their opinion. I was sorry to see Hamada go, but not everybody likes Hamada. And, you know, if you bring them back on TV, you have to take time out for someone else. So, yeah, every time you put one person on TV, someone else is gone. And, you know, I think that TNA gets unfairly criticized for this. There's only so much you can do with 2 hours of television time. I mean, people are going to get left out. Every one of us can go in and make our own roster, but you still only got 2 hours of Impact to work with. You can't do anything with Explosion because it doesn't even air in the United States. So you can't progress stories on Explosion. And then when you take Impact and you take out the time spent for commercials, you end up with about a 90-minute show. About 30 minutes out of those 2 hours is just commercials on average. You got about 90 minutes to work with. Now you got to put everybody in to work your storylines in those 90 minutes. I mean, I challenge you guys or anyone else to reduce that roster enough where you could properly showcase everyone in your 2 hours a week, still get over your storylines to sell your pay-per-views, and have time to put on good matches. There's just not enough time. 90 minutes ain't a whole lot when you're planning everything out minute by minute. You gotta have time for promos, matches, segments. You know, it's... I could go on and on, but let me just go ahead and stop. Let's see. Is there anything else you guys mentioned that I want to talk about? No, that's about all. I'm starting to ramble anyway, but, you know, what the hell is so good about Ring of Honor, and why aren't they more successful? Joe going back to Ring of Honor, more work for less money. That's just not smart for him. TNA storylines. What is it you don't understand? You got clear-cut face, clear-cut heel, and a story as to why they're fighting. I admit some of the stories suck, as for example the Team 3D feud, which I have absolutely no interest in, but the majority of the stories are really good. You get good matches, you get a little comedy thrown in. I really don't see what the complaint is. So, But let me go ahead and end this video. Again, guys, I liked your video. There's just a couple of things I want to point on. I rambled a bit because this video really shouldn't have taken me more than 10 minutes to do, so I am going to stop here. This is the Shadow Ranger. Thanks for listening. If you like my videos, please subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, TJSmith3. Have a nice day.